death taxes in UFC 299 and UFC 300. Look, we're a couple months out from both these cards. They're absolute banger cards. At least 299 right now, top to bottom, is an absolute banger card. I'm sure UFC 300 will fill out a little bit more with the main event still yet to be announced. But let's take a look at some of these fights here. I mean, we got banger fights that are going to be on the prelims of some of these cards. Prelims. I mean, just to start. I mean, Petr Yan and Song Yadong might be on the prelims of UFC 299. And Mateusz Gamrot and Rafael Dos Anjos is on the prelims. And I get RDA isn't a big name anymore, or as big of a name. But that just shows you that the UFC can put out these big cards, and they, not all the time, right? But they refuse sometimes to put a mega stack card together. And I think they perfectly did it for UFC 299. And that's why I think it's better than UFC 300. Now, we can't go off the full picture, right? It ain't painted yet. UFC 300 ain't painted yet. But we can see the vision. We can see the vision what the card is going. I like the card. There's a lot of fun fights on both cards. But today I want to go over the card and which card is better. Because I believe UFC 299 is better. So let's get into it. I think it'd be a little unfair to compare main events since UFC 300 has yet to have a main event yet. But let's just look at the main card right now for UFC 299. To kick off the main card, Kevin Holland and MVP. MVP just signed to the UFC from Bellator. And it should be a fun fight, right? Kevin Holland's a fan favorite. He brings it most of the time. And MVP is a good striker. So it's going to be a striking match, right? It's going to be a striking match. And I think it'll be entertaining. I think the fans will like to see that. What a way to open up the main card for UFC 299. I mean, the night itself is going to be a spectacle. Once we get to the main card, it's going to be awesome because the main event is what really I'm looking forward to because a lot of people are picking Sean O'Malley in that fight, and, well, maybe not everyone. We got Curtis Blaydes and Jailton Almeida. This fight was originally scheduled November of last year, but Curtis Blaydes got injured. I'm excited for that fight, right? We haven't seen Jailton Almeida fight a guy in the heavyweight division who's got grappling. Let's just put it for grappling. He fought Derek Lewis and Jairzinho Rozenstruik, and they're not really known for grappling in the heavyweight division. At least Curtis Blaydes has the wrestling accolades to go with it. And I would probably, once prediction time comes, I probably will pick Jailton Almeida. But this one's a little bit more of an even fight than people are giving it credit for. I mean, Curtis Blaydes, look, freak injury to Tom Aspinall, but he looked decent in that fight for the 15 seconds that it was. I'm not saying he was going to beat Tom Aspinall, but you get my point. And Jailton Almeida, I mean, guy's a freak show. Guy, it looks like he's sauced up. Looks like he's taking all the gear. I'm not saying he's taking the gear, but you know what I mean. He's big. He's really big, and he's light for the weight class, but really, really jacked. Curtis Blaydes is going to have his hands full. Jailton Almeida will have his hands full. I think it'll be a really fun fight. And another great heavyweight fight that they just keep pumping out, right? I think that's the main division people want to see good fights come out of because heavyweight's probably one of the most exciting divisions when it's popping, right? Two big guys going at it, especially when they got good wrestling and good striking. It's always a spectacle. Every time it's a good fight. So, yeah. Another banger fight with Gilbert Burns and Jack Della Maddalena. Yeah, I like this fight. The matchmaking, at first when I saw it, I was like, okay, I don't really like this for Jack Della Maddalena. Then I really thought about the fight, and I'm like, okay, Gilbert Burns is coming off some serious injuries, and he's 37. Going against Jack Della Maddalena, who is a stud on the feet, right? He's gone to back-to-back split decisions, which I don't know if they're both split decisions, right? The Basel Hafez fight was a close fight. I don't think it was a split decision, though. He was kind of beating him up in the later rounds. And the only problem with Jack Della Maddalena in this fight is if he just starts pulling guillotines and pulling submissions out of nowhere. I mean, he's not going to win the fight that way. And if he starts doing that, I think that's where Gilbert Burns can win this fight. Because let's be real here. When it comes to striking, I think Jack Della Maddalena's he's the favorite in that category. I think he's the better striker. He definitely has better hands. But Gilbert Burns is a vet in the game, and he knows how to do it. He knows how to go through Cam, knows how to go through the fight the right way. It would be a big step up for Jack Della Maddalena. I'm so excited to watch that fight. And let's get on to the next one. Dustin Poirier versus Benoit Saint-Denis, also on the card. I love this fight for so many reasons. I'm really high on Benoit Saint-Denis. And this is the first time now Dustin Poirier has fought back in the rankings to fight a contender. And I think it should be a really good fight because a lot of people now are saying, okay, we get Benoit Saint-Denis he's surging. You know, does he deserve this fight? I think he does. I mean, he's been finishing people. He's been making people look silly in the UFC. DP's coming off a knockout loss. I think both worlds meet here, and I think we're going to get a great fight out of this one. Yeah, it's going to be a banger of a fight. 5 rounds. Co-main event. Miami. Should be a banger of a fight. Then we got the main event, Sean O'Malley and Chito Vera. And guys, I said it in my hot takes video. I think Chito Vera is going to win this fight. And the reason why I think he's going to win this fight is when you have a guy like Chito Vera who just cannot be finished, it is scary. It really is scary because if you're a guy like Sean O'Malley who doesn't have the best gas tank in the world, let's be real here. He doesn't have God-given gas tank ability. That is a scary, scary sight for Sean O'Malley. And I know he's nervous for that because I know he's expecting a finish. He wants a finish. But I just don't think Chito's going to give it to him. I think everything is going in Chito's favor, and people just aren't recognizing it. A guy who relies on finishing people in Sean O'Malley. A guy that has wicked speed and power, Sean O'Malley, right? He's got all the tangibles when it comes to on-paper skills. But let's look a little bit deeper in this fight. I mean, Marlon Vera has an insane gas tank. Insane gas tank, right? He's not going to slow down, right? He has slowed down in fights before, but he was just never going in the fights, right? The fight against Corey Sandhagen. Sandhagen just made a miss. He was just too light on his feet, and that could happen. Sean O'Malley could do that for 5 rounds, and he could win a 50-45 decision. But I just think Chito Vera is going to have a chip on his shoulder for this fight. I think he's being doubted by a lot of people. I think a lot of people are not respecting him because he's getting a title shot off of one win, and he lost to Corey Sandhagen. He got dominated. So a lot of people aren't giving him a lot of credit and a lot of chance in this fight. And I think people would be mistaken. We've never seen Chito Vera have a scratch on his face, right? Never. You know he has a ground chin. He's fought good strikers like Rob Font, who's a good boxer, who could put it on him. Guys, when it comes time and when Chito Vera wins, I told you so. That's all I'm going to say. I told you so. And then obviously UFC 300 hyped up, one of the biggest cards hyped up in the past 5 years at least 5 years, right? A lot of people are expecting a lot of banger fights. Hasn't fully lived up to the potential, but you can see the vision with the card. You can really see the vision. I mean, we got Bo Nickal on the card, contender, taking on Cody Brunage. Bo Nickal should probably get that one done in the first round. Submission, knockout. Either of his picking, he's going to get it done inside the first round. I can guarantee you that. Jim Miller and Bobby Green, I mean, 2 OGs of the game, 2 people that are fan favorites, 2 people that people want to see win, and 2 people that deserve to be on UFC 300. If there's 2 people that are OGs of the game that deserve to be on UFC 300, that don't really have the biggest names, Bobby Green and Jim Miller, I think they both deserve it, and I'm so glad they put this fight together. Calvin Kattar and Aljamain Sterling, one of my favorite fighters in the UFC. Calvin Kattar returns off his ACL injury against Aljamain Sterling. I think it's not a bad stylistic matchup for Calvin Cater. He's got really good takedown defense, and Aljo's not really a guy who can land multiple takedowns at will against you. Like, right? He wants the one takedown and then he'll control you. But I think Cater's got good enough takedown defense to nullify that in a 3-rounder. And I think it'll be 29-28 decision for him. His hands have always been clean, and against a guy who has good hands, Aljo's not really the best against it, right? We've seen that against Sean O'Malley. We've seen that in parts against Piotr Jan, right? Where he just gets outstruck and he can't really do anything about it. And moving up a division ultimately could be beneficial for Aljamain, but I think in this certain circumstance, I think I'm going to go Cater. Bias, yes, but I'm looking at it and I just see a lot of things that will benefit Cater in this fight, and so that's why I'm going Cater. And then Figueiredo and Cody Garbrandt. I cannot believe they actually gave Garbrandt this fight. I mean, look, I ain't a matchmaker, but when you have a top 10 guy versus a guy who has lost a lot of his last fights, who used to be a former world champion, I get it, right? I get it. Cody Garbrandt's got a big name, but this fight doesn't really make sense. I think Deiveson Figueiredo's going to walk all over him. Sure, Cody Garbrandt might do like where he's doing that with his feet, you know what I'm talking about, the shuffle. But I think it might be a dominant 30-27 decision for Deiveson Figueiredo. Some of the main card fights, Charles Oliveira, Arman Tsarukyan, really excited for this fight. Two good we're going to see insane grappling exchanges on the ground. More like the Makhachev Oliveira. I think Oliveira will do a good job nullifying the wrestling of Arman Tsarukyan. So we might see a lot more on the feet, or we might see a lot more on the ground just because these guys want to grapple. Either way the fight goes, I'll be hyped. This fight's probably the most anticipated fight on the card. As we go through the card right now, looking at all the fights, maybe my favorite fight on the card. And then we got Jiri Prochazka and Alexander Rakic. Last time Rakic fought towards ACL against Jan Blachowicz. I like Jiri in this fight, right? I think Yuri's a stud. He's probably the most entertaining fighter in the world. Him and Charles, I mean, putting those two guys on UFC 300 just makes sense because they're the most entertaining fighters in the UFC. Rakic, he's all right. Right, he's all right. He's a big, bolder guy at the 205 division. I just think Jiri, he's just more high level. That's all it comes down to. He's going to create a tornado, and Rakic's just going to be lost in the tornado. Then we got the BMF belt on the line between Gaethje and Holloway. I mean, that fight alone could be the main event of this card, right? You got two just absolute studs going for the BMF belt. And I like how they're kind of defending this BMF belt. You know, I think it's kind of cool that that Gaethje's defending the belt. And now if Holloway wins, right? Holloway's got the BMF belt, and then who he fights next is, in question. But Holloway had a chance to fight again for the 145 title. If he loses this, it might hurt his stock, right? Especially if Ilia Topuria beats Volkanovski. That opens up huge window for Holloway to return to the title picture. I think I favor Gaethje in this, but a lot of people are saying Gaethje by a mile. I don't think it'd be a mile. I think it'll be a very, very close fight. I don't think Gaethje's going to knock out Holloway. I think it might be like a 48-47, like razor close, maybe split decision. I really do think it could be like one of the closer fights on the card. And people aren't giving Holloway a lot of credit. People are saying Holloway doesn't have enough time to bulk up to 155 in 3 months. I think 3 months is plenty time to build up some strength and bulk up enough size to get to the 155. It's not like Gaethje is this massive 155 pounder. Yeah, he's pretty big, but he's not dense and muscular as some of the other 155ers like Islam. Not right. If Holloway was fighting Islam, I'd say, yeah, maybe 5 months out you start bulking and really get up to that size. But with Gaethje, he's not the biggest guy in the world, so that's why I think it would be a close fight. I think Holloway can mitigate some of the power that Gaethje's going to be throwing, and I think Gaethje's going to mitigate the offense the hallway is going to be thrown. So it's going to be a close fight. I'm excited for that. Now we're still waiting for the main event, of course. I'm going to throw out a prediction. I don't think it would be Leon and Bilal. I think they're going to save that. I think the main event for UFC 300 is going to be the winner between the fight between Sean Strickland and Dricus du Plessis and Israel Adesanya. It's either that or it could be Magomed Ankalaev and Alex Pereira. Either or, I'd be excited for it. I mean, look, this card's already stacked the way it is. A main event between that has Izzy in it or Pereira in it, I'm in for. And yeah, I mean, both these cards are insane. I think UFC 299 is better, though. I think UFC 299 right now is better. We have to wait for the entire card to come out, UFC 300. But I have a little bit more faith right now that UFC 299 will look better and come fight night be the better card overall. So if you want to leave any video ideas, leave them in the comment below. I'll be posting more regularly now. Maybe not every day, but maybe every other day. I just wanted to go over both these two cards and just show how insane they are. We're getting these back-to-back, boys, so buckle up, saddle up, and yeah, this should be some great cards. But anyways, until next time, peace.